having left Christianity for communism. So it clarified for me, from a political perspective, why Islam was the most effective system, or had with it the best principles for the running of human society and for the protection of the rights of individuals and creatures on the earth. My talk is focused more from a general misunderstanding held around the world with regards to Islam. And that misunderstanding could be traced back to two major sources. If we assume that the world media, for the most part, originates in the West. When we look at the various news reports, it's by AP, Associated Press, Reuters, all these press agencies, the vast majority of them are Western-based. And as such, they influence the media all over the world today. We have to understand that the misconceptions which are prevalent in the media today are a result of either one or another factors, of two factors. The one, or the first, would be that of deliberate misinformation. And that is a product of the Crusaders' period in which they encountered Muslims. This is where Christianity in Europe encountered Islam under the heading of the Crusades, where they sought to liberate, as they saw it, the Holy Land from the Muslim infidels. In order to generate support for this crusade, there were large amounts of false information disseminated about Islam in order to encourage these people to go and fight, give up their lives to occupy this particular land. Of course, historians since then, have pointed out that the reasons behind it were, to a large degree, economic and not religious at all. It had to do with the trade which was coming from the Far East, trade in spices, trade in silk, etc., that the Muslims were the middlemen, and they wanted to remove the middlemen. But it was given this overtone of religious struggle in order to motivate the masses to support this crusade. And we could say today's misinformation, deliberate misinformation, is a part of that. It's an extension of it, or we could say it is a hangover from the period of the Crusaders. What came out of that period, during the period of colonial expansion over the Muslim world, as well as the rest of the world, is a tradition of study known as Orientalism in the West. Orientalism meaning they specialized in Eastern things, Eastern religions, etc. It included others, but focused to a large degree on Islam because they represented the largest group. And it was missionary based. It was, there were systems of study set up in order to penetrate the areas under Muslim control, to penetrate these areas psychologically, intellectually. So they made a study of Islamic texts, etc., to try to find opportunities or avenues by which they could confuse the people, create doubts in the peoples about their religion in order to support their own political control over those given areas. As a result, the Orientalist tradition is filled with many lies, things which are outright lies about Islam. Unfortunately, the approach was not one of discussion and debate, where you sit down and present what your beliefs are, and I will present what my beliefs are, but it was an attack. And as such, unfortunately, that attack was an unscrupulous attack in which they sought to malign Islam in any way, shape, or form possible. So many lies, many things are attributed to Islam, which even the smallest child, if you ask the child, is this a part of Islam? They will tell you, no, it has nothing to do with Islam. Islam doesn't say this. The smallest child can give the correct answer. So we cannot excuse, scholars, PhDs, of Europe, etc., who studied Islamic texts. They learned Arabic to the point where they've understood the Quran, they understood Islamic texts, books of fiqh, etc., that they're going to make fundamental mistakes on very basic things which each and every Muslim knows. This represents the deliberate element in misinformation. Now there is another element of misinformation which I call the inadvertent element. And that is due to misinterpretations, where people observe Muslims doing something, and then they judge it according to their own cultural or social or religious backgrounds. They interpret it from that point of view. Just as a simple interpretation, for example, if Muslims are seen to bow towards the Kaaba in India, for example, then Hindus who bow to their idols will look at this and try to interpret it in the same light. Well, Muslims are bowing to the Kaaba as we bow to our idols, This is not necessarily a thing of worship, but it is a means through which God is worshipped. This is how it is interpreted. So they interpret it in that light.
Confusion, conflict, lack of values, lack of genuine faith, living life unaware. Religions manipulated, misunderstood, religious scriptures altered and modified for petty gain. In all this, Billy, I will strive to expose the truth.
Because it's your right to know and my duty to tell the truth.
Watch Dr. Zakir Naik in Truth Exposed every Sunday to Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time and 7 p.m. Pacific Time on Peace TV. Asim Al-Hakim.
People tend to make the common mistake of looking for peace in far and remote places. But if we look a bit closer, we will find the peace within. For directions and messages that give us happiness and success, join us.
Mind Your Soul, tonight at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 8:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Peace TV.
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said in the authentic narration, يَئِسَ أَنْ يَعْبِدُهُ الْمُصَلُّونَ فِي جَزِيرَةِ الْعَرَبِ. Satan has despaired to be worshipped in Arabia, but he will be content by creating divisions and hatred among the Muslims. So take care and don't fall into the trap that has been set by this cursed one.
Join Salim Al-Amri in The Satanic Traps every Tuesday at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 8:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Peace TV. Courage it takes to stand up for what you believe in. Courage it takes to be true and righteous. Courage it takes to dare and answer your questions, be they social, political, economic, educational, or religious. To get clear and convincing answers,
Test your courage and question me in Dare to Ask.
Dare to Ask, next on Peace TV.
Or, for example, Muslims slaughtering of animals.